What's up, outlaws? Welcome back to another awesome day in Red Dead Redemption 2, and in this video I'm going to show you a few awesome tips and tricks that will make your gameplay experience so much better. Now, given the fact that Red Dead Redemption 2 is absolutely massive, there's always something new you can learn by simply playing it a lot, and that's what I've been doing in the past week or so. I've been playing the hell out of this game, which is why I bring you some of the tips and tricks I have learned throughout it. So yeah, without wasting any more time, I'm going to start with the first one, which is a combat related tip, and that is you can actually switch the shoulder camera in Red Dead Redemption 2 to adjust your aim. You can do it by tapping the left button on your D-pad while aiming your weapon, and this is going to be especially useful to you when either hiding behind tight corners or when needing to adjust the aim to take down the bad guys. It's also useful if you prefer it on the other shoulder, and I'm surprised I'm not seeing too many people using it more often, but yeah, this is going to be very useful to you later on into the story when you're going to fight a lot more enemies in tight corners. So yeah, unsurprisingly enough, a lot of people have missed this tip. I think it's even shown in the beginning hours of the game, but personally I have completely missed it because there is simply too much about this game. Nonetheless, now you know, and you're most probably going to want to make use of it because it's definitely going to save your butt, especially when your view is obstructed. Another cool combat tip I have for you guys is the slide behind cover. Normally when going behind cover, if you double tap R1 on your controller, R3 will stick to whatever obstacle there is to hide behind it. Sometimes this can be a little bit too slow, especially when being completely outnumbered by enemies, case in which you'll need to quickly slide behind it. To slide, all you need to do is double tap the R1 button while sprinting with your gun unholstered, and this will make Arthur slide instead of simply walk to it, which can be pretty slow and oftentimes can lead to you being shot too many times and most probably even die. Do keep in mind that you need to be at roughly 2 meters from the cover to initiate the slide, and if you're too close to it, for example, it will just do the normal cover and not the slide itself. So make sure you're sprinting, and while sprinting, double tap the R1 button while still being at a distance from the obstacle, and it will make Arthur slide behind it, and this will also make you dodge all the incoming bullets, which is very useful. Coming up at number 3, there is a way to almost always hit those critical spots on a target, especially in the head area or in the chest area at the very least, which is freaking useful and so satisfying to pull off. If your combat settings are set to default, it means you most probably have sticky targeting on, and this is something that you will want. Normally when pressing L2 with the weapon drawn out, this will make the weapon reticle stick to whatever enemy you have in front of you, and it's pretty useful. You can even abuse it a little bit by pressing and releasing L2 and then pressing it again to either readjust the aim or to stick it to a different target. But what this does is that it tends to put the gun reticle on the target's middle part of the body, most of the time somewhere between the stomach and chest area, especially when they're further away, and this means that it's not going to necessarily die in one shot unless you're using a high caliber weapon. The chest and the head area are much better critical spots, but also harder to hit from far away with sticky targeting. But what if I told you that instead there is a cool trick you can pull off that will almost always guarantee a shot in those critical spots, especially in the head area, and it's so much easier to pull off even if you have sticky targeting. In fact, you will need sticky targeting in order to do this fast. So what you can do instead, in order to always shoot the chest or even the head without relying on manual targeting or deadeye, is to slightly flick the camera upwards soon as you aim the target with L2 and pressing R2 to shoot. It's something that you will have to do at almost the same time within a split second from one another, so just aim towards a target with L2 to stick the reticle to it, and then shoot and slightly flick the camera upwards to make the bullet go towards the upper part of the body rather than the middle. So it's going to be easier for you to aim that headshot. It's going to be much more satisfying, and about 95% of the cases a target will get killed in one shot with most good caliber weapons instead of 2 or possible 3 if you're doing this trick. It takes a little bit of practice to pull it off, but trust me, it's extremely useful but also extremely satisfying to pull off, especially when you aim that perfect headshot in the enemy's face. And yeah, I've been doing this for a few days now. It's proven to be extremely good. All you need to do is press L2 to stick your reticle on the target, and then press R2 to to shoot and flick the camera up slightly in order to aim for that chest or even head instead of the stomach or lower part of the body. It's super useful and it's so freaking awesome. I have done so many headshots since I've been using this trick, and I haven't seen anybody using it yet. I'm not really sure how many people know of this, but trust me, it's extremely good and those headshots are absolutely impeccable. I mean, the headshot count has dramatically increased for me ever since I have done this trick, and I'm loving it so far. I mean, the kill cam is to die for, literally. So yeah, I'm just putting it out there, but you should definitely do this. Moving on to traveling, by now you must have traveled throughout the huge map of Red Dead Redemption 2 at least a few times, to the point that it most probably became a little bit tiresome to you. While I do admit that the scenery is astounding to look at, sometimes you might not feel in the mood to travel for huge distances, especially to points of interest with no nearby stagecoach or train stations to fast travel to. But what if instead there was an automatic way to set up a path and let Arthur ride his horse to it? Well, fortunately enough, there actually is one in the game, and you can pull it off with the use of the cinematic camera. You can activate the cinematic camera by simply holding the trackpad on your PS4 controller or the equivalent on the Xbox One controller, and this will set up the game in a letterbox effect, and you can also see the game from different angles. But if you first set out a waypoint far away on the map location and move on it a little bit and then activate the cinematic camera, Arthur will automatically ride his horse towards it at regular gallop speed, and it's very freaking useful. You can go ahead and grab a drink while he does it. Just set your waypoint, start on the road a little bit, and then press the cinematic camera button, and it will pretty much make Arthur and his horse go towards it automatically. And it does a pretty good job at doing it. I mean, it avoids most of the obstacles, it doesn't bump too much into other passerbys, and for the most part I have found it to be very reliable. Of course, unless like something really bad happens on the road and then you might get killed, knocked off your horse or somewhere along those lines, but for the most part it's extremely useful and so needed, especially since you're going to be traveling so much in this game. But since we're still on the subject of fast traveling, you might want to know that under the right circumstances you can give your horse almost infinite stamina regeneration. I've mentioned this in a previous video, but using the left thumbstick while on your horse does more than just calming it under stress. When riding your horse, provided your bonding level is high enough, it also gives it a small stamina boost that is very needed when sprinting for long distances. At maximum bonding, and assuming you have at least level 5 or 6 stamina in the core stat, as well as good gear on it such as stirrups and a saddle, you can pretty much press the L3 on your controller and this will make your horse regenerate a little bit of stamina every time you do it. It's on about an 8-second cooldown if I'm not mistaken, but nonetheless, if you do it properly, you will completely regenerate its HP before you can even deplete it. And I didn't even have to rely on any horse tonics, I didn't have to buff them at all. All I had to do is just praise it every 8 seconds or so, and it would give me a lot of regeneration back, which is very useful. Moving on to other crazy stuff you can pull off in the wild, you can also hijack someone's horse or even carriage while riding besides it. It's pretty similar to the way you do it with trains, and you can pull it off by riding right besides another carriage or a horse and then pressing the square button after the on-screen prompt appears. Just make sure to do it after the prompt appears, because otherwise you might just use your horse to jump over the other one, and this will make everybody drop off on the ground, and it's pretty silly, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, just wait for the prompt and it's going to be super useful. Now you might think that this isn't such a big deal, but there are indeed various missions later on into the game, as well as challenges that will require you to take out certain stagecoaches in non-lethal manners. One such non-lethal manner is of course jumping and hijacking it without killing anybody, and it's definitely going to be useful to you if you want to do some challenges or if you want to like complete certain missions with the gold medal, and there are definitely enough of them that require it. It's also a good way to not get too much involved with the lawman, and that's why I'm suggesting it, and it's pretty damn fun to pull off. Oh, and since we're still on the subject of stagecoaches, wagons and so on, you can also in fact cut the horses free from them if you want to use the horse instead of using the whole thing. You can do this by simply getting close to the horses, holding down L2 for the contextual screen to appear, and then pressing triangle to cut them loose. From here you can simply pat them a little bit so you can calm them, and then you can proceed to like jump on them and just use them the regular way. So pretty useful, especially if you don't want to drag that huge wagon or stagecoach behind you. Coming up next, there is an easy method to retrieve your horse, assuming for example you have left it on the other side of the map and there's no way for you to retrieve it. Normally it does a good job at sticking by your side, waiting for you at the train station when getting off a train or a stagecoach, but if it somehow got lost on the other side of the map and too far away from a stable to retrieve it, then you can just set up a camp anywhere, sleep until morning, and your horse will be there once again meeting you and greeting you, and you don't have to retrieve it from anywhere else. It's going to be right there on the spot, and it's probably the best method to retrieve it, and you're most probably going to set up camps anyway as they are also very useful. And this pretty much concludes today's video. These are all the tips and tricks that I have for you guys for today, and as always I hope you guys enjoyed this video, case in which a like and a subscribe would be super appreciated. If you didn't, then you pretty much know what to do, and I will see you guys in the next one. So peace out.